everyone. In today's lecture, we are going to cover the protection of CNS. So, CNS has three different protections. Before moving on to that, what is CNS? It is central nervous system and it comprises of brain and spinal cord. I'm sure you all already know that. Now, brain has four ventricles. Ventricles can be translated to cavities, and these are hollow. One thing that is common between spinal cord and brain is that both of them are hollow. So brain has four ventricles or cavities and they're hollow and they're filled with what? They're filled with CSF, which is cerebrospinal fluid. And your spinal cord, it has a central canal and that is also filled with CSF. Now moving on to the protection of CNS. So, your central nervous system, the first protection it has is meninges. Now, meninges is basically connective tissue membranes, and there are three of them, the innermost being pia mater, or you can call it mater, however you would like to pronounce it. But yeah, the word mater, it means mother. So, pia mater or matter. Then you have the middle layer, arachnoid matter, then the outermost dura mater. So the three layers acronym you can make is PAD, PAD. P being the innermost, it is closest to the nervous tissue. Then arachnoid mater is the middle membrane, and then dura mater is the outermost, and it's right next to the cranium. So here you can see this is cranium, right? This is your skull bone. So right next to it is dura mater. Here also there is a better image. Meninges, three layers. So three protective layers, and this goes throughout your brain as well as your spinal cord, right? Because we're talking about the protection of CNS, not just brain. Then this is brain. Then innermost will be pia mater. Then you have arachnoid mater. Then you have dura mater. Pia is innermost, inmost protection. Then you have the bone of the skull, right? So we are done with meninges. One thing here that you need to know is that there is cerebrospinal fluid CSF between pia mater and arachnoid mater. So between the second and third layer, you have cerebrospinal fluid. I've already told you that cerebrospinal fluid fills the ventricles of the brain and it also fills the spaces. So it fills the ventricles and it also fills the spaces between the pia mater and the arachnoid mater. So pia mater and arachnoid mater, you can call them second and third layers of brain. So there is CSF between them as well. Now moving on, the second protection that I want to talk about is cranium and vertebral column. So your brain is enclosed within the cranium, so it gets its protection from cranium, and your spinal cord, it gets its protection from vertebral column. So if there's a spinal cord right here, there's a nerve here, that's the spinal cord. It has its protection. And what is providing that protection? It's your vertebral column. So we already know the structure of vertebral column. There's seven cervical vertebrae here, then 12 in your thoracic region, then 5 in the lumbar region, then there are 9 in your last region. 9 vertebrae are there in your last region, which is called the pelvic region, and here first 5 join to form sacrum and the posterior 4 join to form Coccyx, the tailbone. So yeah, this is the second protection, cranium and your vertebral column, right? Moving on, the third protection that your CNS has is cerebrospinal fluid. And your cerebrospinal fluid is present in hollow cavities. So in brain, what is that hollow cavity? It's the ventricle. And in your vertebral, or you can say spinal canal, what's that hollow cavity? It's your vertebral column, or you can say the spinal cord. This is the hollow cavity, so there is CSF, and in your ventricles there is CSF. And where else is there CSF? It is between the in the ventricles and then between the meninges. Which layer exactly? The second and third. Which one is it? It's arachnoid mater and pia mater. Right. So what does CSF do? It acts like a shock absorber. So since your brain doesn't have blood, what does it have? It has CSF, and the CSF helps in, sudden trauma, like protection from sudden trauma and all that. So yep, I hope today's lecture was helpful. We covered the two components of of CNS, brain, and spinal cord. Then we covered their protection, the first one being meninges, innermost pia mater, then arachnoid matter, outermost dura mater, and there's CSF between pia mater and arachnoid matter. Second protection we spoke about was cranium and your vertebral column. The third protection we spoke about was CSF. So CSF is in ventricles and it's between the meninges, just the two layers, second and third, pia mater and arachnoid matter, and then there is CSF in your spinal cord. Thank you.